Hey guys, I appreciate you taking the time to review this video on ethics and professionalism. I promise not to extend this video to make it too long, but I did want to give an overview on ethics and professionalism. So without any further ado, let's get started. Now, if you look up the word ethics in the dictionary, you'll find a definition something like this. It's the rules of behavior based on ideas about what is morally good and bad. They kind of help guide our decision-making processes, and it can serve as an outline for model behavior. In general, people learn about what is right and wrong from their parents, or perhaps those who raised them. My parents were the greatest, especially my mom, who was something of a hero for me. Between showing up at my award ceremonies or the soccer games, sometimes she and I didn't see eye to eye. I still have vague memories of her telling me to get off of her landline phone on school nights, although I suppose if you were born in the 90s, that conversation may not have happened. Nonetheless, many of those ideas and values have helped shape my outlook on ethics, as I'm certain that has helped shape yours. So as we proceed in the presentation, I'd like to focus on knowing the why. The sum of experiences all make us each unique in some way, and because of that, it's important that as a school that we are providing an aligned standard to help. Consider the dynamic that would occur if 10 people, or let's say 10 teachers, were given the same restaurant experience and asked to discuss what influences will go into tipping for them. One may consider the food, while another may talk about the service rendered. Then altogether differently, another may just tip at a flat rate that's independent of the service altogether. In applying this to ethics, this prompts the question, how can we become more aligned? More specifically, how can we, as a faculty and staff, work together, becoming more ethical and professional? Stop to consider what pieces are in place currently. If something bad were to happen, can you safely assume that every teacher knows exactly what to do during or after? Well, if I'm being honest, I think that revisiting ethics only strengthens us overall. As at the very least, maybe it can prompt us or spur us to look at strategies to plan in advance. So when preparing this presentation, I reviewed several sources on ethics. This led me to some information I first acquired while reviewing the video on ethics and professionalism by Dr. Mark Wilson. In it, there were 5 ways to encourage ethics as an effort. They included raising awareness, leading by example, ensuring that there is an understanding as well as emphasized follow-through, and setting expectations to promote accountability. While all 5 serve an important role, I felt personally that it started with raising awareness. Consider the number of certificates that have been revoked or denied has doubled since 2010. So what are the Code of Ethics standards now, and how does one enhance awareness about them? Well, since we're required to complete a FIT module on our ethics, and there are other listed sources that are used, I wanted to provide an overview that hopefully wasn't too exhaustive. I wanted to start with the first 5. They include legal compliance, which ensures that you make certain not to break any laws. Next, there is conduct with students that states that teachers should maintain professional relationships with students. As a teacher, you're not to consume or use alcohol or drugs on campus or before sporting events or pretty much before prom or any other type of activity of that nature. You must display honesty, and you must not falsify or misrepresent information. This means that you don't take sick days and use that to go downtown to have lunch. This also means that you try to be honest about your professional credentials. Now, the Code on Public Funds and Property means that you want to use school materials for school stuff. This means that if you want to print a flyer for a garage sale you're having, you may want to clear with your administrator first. Now, the next listing of ethics standards starts with remunerative conduct. And this addresses gifts, favors, etc., and how staff members should handle them. Pretty much, this means you can't accept payment to tutor a science student that's in your science class. You want to eliminate the idea of redundancy. Next, you have confidential information, which ensures privacy of student records. Now, according to data acquired from 2018, the last three standards received the highest numbers of teachers sanctioned. And pretty much that's why I took the time to underline them and highlight. They include required reports, professional conduct, and testing. Now, required reporting refers to your obligation as a teacher to report violations. For example, if a child reports physical abuse, you have to report this within a 24-hour period. Professional conduct was the highest amongst three and prompts faculty to demonstrate integrity within the profession. Finally, there's testing, and this refers to ensuring security on our state-mandated tests. And a lot of information is usually provided going into that, but you want to make sure that you operate with fidelity when handling those tests. Now, while considering all of these standards, it's important to understand that anyone that is a Georgia resident can submit a complaint. And while not all complaints necessarily end up being issues, even one complaint that is true can place a black eye on the reputation on us as teachers. And so, hopefully by reviewing this presentation, we've at least addressed the first part of the 5 ways mentioned prior, which is by promoting interest, or awareness, I thank you for your time taking to review this presentation, and please feel free to contact me should you have any specific questions. If you're interested in learning more about ethics standards, well, there's the Georgia Professional Standards that has created a few videos to support ethics education. Also, during my research, I came across this book by Mark Miller that you may find helpful. It's entitled Chestnut Checkers and addresses thinking ahead, the technique I find is the most fitting when discussing ethics. Lastly, you're invited to take a short quiz, and should you want any additional information or sources, here are the links to sources that I used in my presentation. I thank you for your time and have a good rest of your day.